Hello?
Hello, is this N8NOFACE?
Yeah. What up, dude? What's going on?
Hey, not much, not much. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak to me.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
I want to start off by talking about that album Narface you did with Gnarls Manson.
Dope, man. We always tripped out that people dug it because that's my homie like from Tucson. I didn't really know him when we were both living in Tucson strong, and then I came out here and he came out later, and we just hung out because we were both out here now. And then yeah, so I started putting a project together, and I was like, yo, I don't want it to sound like my shit, so I did a lot of sampling for that, and then chopped up the samples so unrecognizable, and just pieced shit together. And then I was like, I want it to sound like a radio show and a mixtape, and I want any project me and him do, we got another one coming, I want it to always just flow like a mixtape, like little samples in between, like the whole thing be continuous. So dude, I did not, even he says to this day, from him doing his Kate Moss shit and me doing my solo shit, that project gets crazy love from like each of our own little sets, and it bugs us out all the time because fuck, man, I didn't know it was going to get that much love, and we were kind of just fucking around with it. And yeah, man, that project turned out fun, man.
Nah,
So thank you so much.
no, it's amazing. Yeah, I noticed you use like a lot of like Rodney on the Rock sampling.
Yeah,
That
because I wanted it to sound like a radio show all through it. This next one we're gonna be doing, I'm sampling nothing but like art people talking, because it's gonna be called This Ain't Art, and so I want it to all sound like a fucking auction show, but I like to be all continuous. So that intention was like us being discovered on the radio, and finding an old punk rock radio show, and just kind of have it like a punk rock radio show where every song they're playing is us. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the intention of that. And my girl put me on to who he was. I didn't know, coming from Arizona and shit. But she put me on to him, so I started looking him up and sampling all kinds of shit from YouTube.
Yeah,
That was
no,
fun, yeah.
no, Rodney's wild. That guy brought a lot of music. That guy showed
Yeah,
a bunch
no,
of music.
yeah, for sure. Now that I studied on it, I mean, that's the coolest thing about shit like that is do it to sample it, and then I always try to care about what I'm like using and shit. So, and then it made me dig up on him, watch documentaries on him, and watch tons of interviews of people actually interviewing him, not just his show. And yeah, he's super dope, man. Like really fucking cared about shit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was looking. I'm looking back on your music, and you use a lot of, especially you say your music's synth punk, and you're using a lot of sampling and drum machines, a lot of like just hardcore shit that a lot of punks or punk bands nowadays don't use anymore or haven't really used at all. Where are you getting that influence from? I remember you mentioning in a couple of interviews or back in like old like songs on YouTube that used to work like in hip hop or in rap back in like in Tucson or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it spawned from. I mean, growing up young, like maybe when I started getting, there's no musicians or nothing in my family, so we just listened to music and liked it. And young, like 12 years old, me and my group of friends found Suicidal Tendencies, and that was my first introduction to punk. And we kind of just liked them because we weren't punks in my city. I mean, it's a small town on the close to the border. So we were like, oh, we like this music, and these guys look like us, look like some Mexican kids, and the whole band's just biracial, and so was our group of friends. So I got into that, and then I kind of got out of it because then I got really hardcore into rap. I'm hanging out with kids who are playing in the streets, so that's all they wanted to bump was get money, shoot 'em up shit. So then my world just became that. But I always loved all kinds of music. So we had a record store. I had some gear. I was making some beats, and a homie comes in and starts introducing me to other music, and that's how I really was like, okay, let me. I just started messing around with my drum machine. So really, me doing my punk music now, using drum machines, was only because I loved it so much and was like, I want to try this, but I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know how to do none of this shit. So I'm going to try to make punk music with the gear that I was using for hip hop beats and shit. Like, I'm going to use this. And even my subject matter and themes come from like what you might find in a rap song or a corrido, like a narco song. Is like, you know, I try to tell stories of like my people, but use the punk frequency. But yeah, using drum machines and synths, and this just spawned out of shit. That was the only gear I had when I decided that I wanted to make punk music. So I was like, let me try it with this.
Yeah, you just mentioned how you're talking about like when you listen to Suicidal Tendencies, and it was just cool to see like Hispanics or people that are brown, like brown people that look like us in like punk. You've in LA especially, or in Southern California, you're kind of like that. You're kind of like that person that like what was really cool, what drew me to you is that you were this Hispanic guy, this brown guy that was making like punk music that I liked, because like all the bands like you listen to now, half these guys are some white kids, and like no shade to them or anything, but like it's cool to see that it's like someone that looks like you or comes from the same background as you in a way is making music. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm grateful that you got that, because that's the way I felt when I saw them. Exactly. And you know, now that I'm older, and I mean, at that time I started, you know, when I really got hard into it, I started digging, and you find other bands doing it, and you find, but I mean, like I said, we weren't from a punk scene, so I didn't know that there were other bands doing it, but then they were like maybe super spiky hair or something, where Suicidal Tendencies was some dudes in Dickies fucking, you know, and a couple pipe, like they didn't, their whole aesthetic didn't scream shit that you wouldn't see in my circles. So it was just like, and then later I found out, oh, there was tons of bands in Cali doing that. California doing that, but you know, at Tucson at the time, we didn't know that, because all we knew was there was no internet, so we just knew what MTV popped on or what some kid was playing while we were skating, and you know what I mean. So that's what attracted me to them, and I'm glad I could be that now for other cats, because I see that. I see youngsters like starting to do shit maybe they wouldn't do. I got guys sending me beats, and they're the same thing. They're maybe listening to drill shit or whatever was popping for their generation at the time, the trap style beats. And then they see me do this, and man, now they're sending me demos. Hey, can you peep this? You know, this was influenced by you, and I'm like, oh fuck, dope, man. And maybe it was because they just seen someone who liked hip hop like them, but they're like, fuck it, I'm allowed to try that too. You know, nobody owns this shit. We can do whatever we want, which is always important to me. Like, I want to make a rap beat, I want to make a punk beat, I want to make whatever I can do. I'm all of it. You know, none of it's gonna be foul. You know, not honest or anything. Like shit. No matter what the genre I choose to do, I hope the music comes off as honest.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely what it comes off, and like I see like an increase in that, especially like from people like NASCAR Aloe or like
exactly.
Horror, that you like the people you've worked with Horror before, and like they're doing kind of the same thing, but they have their own style, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely like a more of a metal and hard, but yeah, man. I mean, it's shit I dreamed of. I'm older, and now. You see it more in today's generation. Back when I always tell people, at my school one day, elementary, I remember seeing a rumble go down, and it started by a group of kids screaming rap sucks and another group of kids screaming rock sucks. And it all was funny at the beginning, but then they got into a real fight. And it was just like, that's the world I came. You had to like one or another. It was really hard to like that. No fucking punk rock was getting played in the cars that I was hanging out with. If I tried to, I was the weirdo on my crew that would listen to different shit. If I tried to play something, my boys would be like, get that the fuck out this car. Like it's strictly you only listen to rap. You only listen to this. Was my generation. Now everybody's listening to everything. And I think it's so funny that's why now I'm an older age, I'm finally starting to pick on, because what I was doing years ago was the same, but no one was still open to it. And now this new generation, which I love, is like they're open to like a mesh of songs. They don't care if an album has a guy rapping and then the next song he's screaming or something. Like whatever, man. If it's dope, it's dope.
Yeah, and you're kind of getting to it, but before you've mentioned that you make weirdo music. What do you define as weirdo music?
I don't, and I should stop saying that, because again, I'm still stuck in my time. Like I'm fucking horrible with time. I'm like a big kid. So when I'm talking right, and like when I say that, I'm really probably talking about Nate Still 7 years ago when it was weird. But I mean, like if you listen to my early shit, like my Dolo tape, my first hard release. It was on a cassette by Hit and Run, and they called it the Dolo tape. I mean, I'm singing their songs where I've been compared to, like, people were like, oh, this sounds Bowie-ish, and then the next, it's me singing on an acoustic guitar, and then the next song is me rapping in a screaming voice to a synth beat, talking about a homie gonna kill the person that killed his friend, and then the next song will be me just total crying because I just went through a drug addiction or heartbreak. And I don't know, I call it weirdo music because, again, I'm so wrapped into where I come from and who my people are. I mean, my best friend who will kill for me or loan me money, I've played him some of my music and he'll be like, what the fuck is that? And this is my best friend who I love, and he'll be like, what the fuck is that? Get the fuck out of the basement, you're too depressed. Like I call it weirdo music because the culture I come from, they would consider it weirdo. That's what they would call it. So, and I you know, that's who I am. I am the weirdo who makes it, but I just call it that because, I mean, that's just, it's nothing you're going to hear on commercial airwaves, at least back when I was doing it.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. This is great. So you mentioned a lot that you're older. Do you get a lot of just shit from people, like because like you're older, you're not your shit, the shit that you're not making is cool, or just like by your appearance? Like, I remember the first time I heard your music and I looked you up on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, he's making this music. Do you get that a lot?
I mean, I get, you know, it's crazy is I get it from both sides. Like when I've been laid off recently and got a new job, but my old job, you know, I've been building planes all these years, and a coworker even said that once, you know, because I mean, I still get love. So he even said, he's like, do these kids know you're fucking 44? I mean, now I'm 45, but at the time, and I was like, yeah, and you know, it used to always fuck with me. That's why I was like, okay, I gotta do music, man. Like, I got to. So I'm never going to stop doing that. I mean, from Suicide, they were playing in their fucking 70s. Like, my boy just went and saw one of Suicide's last shows, and before one of them passed or whatever. I don't know if they're both dead now. But my point is there's guys that do it, but they do it in these really strange zones. Like, they're making crazy music. You know, obviously maybe me screaming or doing the rap styles will have to stop at some point in my age, and then I have to make music, so I'll be picking up a guitar, banjo, whatever. But anyways, I get it from both, like my boys saying, you know, do they realize you're that old? So I get shit that way. And the people who love my music, they don't. Like, I got new fans now calling me uncle or pops or dad. It's like, I used to think that they would give a fuck. Like, oh, what's this old guy doing making this type of music? But again, I try to come from a place of it being that, like, I'm an old guy telling you these stories, like, you know, just like Johnny Cash would or someone. I'm just using this frequency that I love so much, whether it be screaming or whatever, these synths and shit. But yeah, I've gotten it in different ways, but it's always been love. It's never been negative, or I've never taken it negative. And I don't feel like anyone's ever said it negative-wise, like, dude, you should stop. Or, like I said, maybe the normies, the 9-to-5 workers, they've been like, I can't believe you're still doing this. But, man, I'm just gonna. I mean, there's guys my age playing fucking video games. What's the difference? Like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
It's funny that you bring up, like, Johnny Cash. I was telling my friend the other day who I showed you his music, and I was like, bro, like, you know what? Like, N8NOFACE is, like, probably like the Johnny Cash of, like, synth punk right now.
Sick, and that's, dude, then you saying that nails it, because that's how I wanted, you know, always to be, is like, yeah, all right, but storytelling, and I mean, there's, you know, I'll never come from the place, certain songs, you're right, I'm not going to be saying certain things, because even if I used to do it, it just feels weird. I'll tell it from a place of an old guy doing it, and you know, I hope it comes off that way. It's like storytelling. You nailed it, exactly, like Johnny Cash's synth punk. That's it.
Yeah, that's great. So I just had a question. You're on your Instagram, you're a bit vocal against the government. Now, you're vocal. You're saying a lot of shit on there. And like, especially during the George Floyd protest, you heard a lot of like ACAB, fuck the police, and everything.
Right.
And you've been a little bit vocal about police brutality. What do you say to people that say not all cops are bad, or it's just some bad apples?
I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like, fuck. Well, then, if you're bad, if you're letting that shit slide, you know, you're a fucking piece of shit cop. And I mean, I know I don't know, it's such a fucking crazy subject. And it's something I've been talking about forever, man. I mean, when we were kids, 5 cops put my best friend in the hospital. A friend I used to hang out with in Tucson police killed his dad. And all, like, the dad, like, was unarmed. And so and my brother, you know, dirty cop lied on a warrant to raid his house because he didn't have shit. My best friend who did 10 in the feds told him, look, if you try to fight us, we're going to, in the room by himself, they told him straight up, we're going to lie on the stand and we will win. And you're going to do 40 years. So, motherfucker, just take this plea, you know, right now for 10. And so he was so scared. He's like, fuck yeah, if you guys are telling me you're going to. So, I mean, there's these piece of shit police, man. So, you know, I understand the world needs it. I'm not a complete anarchist, but I'm saying, yeah, you got to reform and change the way shit's working, man. I mean, you're a blind person if you don't see it. And, you know, and maybe there are good cops in enlisting and they're trying to change it from the inside. But, man, they need way better fucking training, dude. I mean, I've just always been vocal about that. It's just, from what I've seen some piece of shit actions done by people who are supposed to be the protectors of, like, just hardworking folk who want to go home. Like, when it comes to crime and shit, I understand. We're playing in the streets. You got to do your job. But, man, this shit, killing innocent people and shit.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I used to grow up in England. I used to see that shit all the time. My dad used to see that shit all the time. It's fucked up shit.
Yeah, and I try to be, like, in my older age, I'm trying to be more empathetic. Like, all right, man, maybe there is some good cop who's like, nah, I got to do this. Like, you know, I'm trying to do something for my community. I got it. But, man, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's such a fucked up situation. Just need to redo it all from the ground up.
So you had a concert amongst this, like, about a month ago, like, amongst all this shit going on. Do you think people should just live in fear right now, or they should take, like, precaution, or fuck it all? Or is there some type of, like, middle ground?
Yeah, I try to be on the middle ground because I caught a lot of shit for that show. And, you know, I don't want to offend nobody. Like, if that is your thing and you are really scared, maybe you got a health condition. Again, I'm trying to be more empathetic to people. But, man, I don't know. I'm also on the, like, yo, wash your hands. You know, fuck, man, I don't know of anybody getting sick at that show. And I'm not one of these conspiracy people that's like, it's fake. It's not obviously existing. But, yeah, I'm definitely big on let's not live in fear, man. Like, you know, fuck, man, the stats say all kinds of shit's killing us. And I'm not saying let's, you know, just go out there and wear your mask if you feel comfortable, wash your hands, sanitize. You know, if you're sick, stay the fuck home. And basically everything I'm saying is shit people should have been doing already. So it's like, but yeah, I'm just not one for living in fear, man. And when that show popped up, I wanted to play so bad, and I did not expect it to be as big as it was. I was like, oh, cool, play for some friends, and that's it. And that shit was fucking packed. I mean, that line was around the building. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. I even thought, I'm like, this is going to be on the news with super spreaders. But fuck it, man. I had to play, man. I mean, I'm not going to – I love music. I love playing. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to do it, man. I mean, shit, I worked – go ahead.
How'd you get the cut on your forehead? I saw, or like you were bleeding.
Yeah, I was I lose myself sometimes in songs. I don't even know what I'm doing when I'm live and after. And I've been punching my head a lot at shows. And this time I was punching my head, but I was beating it with the microphone. And I didn't know I was bleeding. Once I got out of there and we're done performing, I say goodbye to everybody. Even when I was like, you see video and I'm wiping my head, but I'm just thinking it's sweat. And then when I went into my homie and sat down and caught my breath and had a couple of drinks, he's like, dude, you're bleeding. So I didn't even know. But Fossils from Death Proof, he hit me up and was like, yeah, dude, my mic is completely fucked. Like, I feel so bad. He's like, I'm going to hang it on my wall. And if you blow up some of the scenes where you see the mic, because then I went and did, and oh, shit, that shit's so dented. And I didn't realize I did that, man.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, I did not realize I did that, and I gotta be careful because I don't want to fuck nobody's gear up. I told him I'll buy him a new mic, but he ain't tripping.
Speaking of gear, so I did some research, and like you were part of a band called Crime Kills, and you described this, or I don't know if it was you or the band itself describes music as Game Boy punk, and you were using a game. Were you really using a Game Boy to make music?
Yeah, man. I mean, not me. I was just a vocalist, and it was just my partner. Again, this is the kid that, like, he would always come in the store. I've known him since he was like a kid, and then years later when he grew up, I knew him since he was 10. Years later, he grows up and walks in my store one day, and it's like, oh shit, kid from the neighborhood. And so he was getting really into indie music, but he liked hip hop too. So he's the one who started showing me all kinds of shit. And then we were like, let's make a band. And so we wanted to be different. So he was that Crystal Castles was out at the time, and they were sampling game sounds and incorporating them in their beats. And he's like, I don't want to do that. There's a style of music called chiptune, where you get Game Boys, you mod out the cartridge, and then you use the actual sounds, white noise that they use for explosions, and you use the actual sounds. There's three waves: the sine wave, the saw wave, and whatever else. And you use those sounds and you make music with them. But chiptune music is a bunch of nerds like just making weird little beats with Game Boys. We're like, let's make punk with it. So if you listen to early Crime Kills, the first album, the second album, the third one we were incorporating since. But yeah, man, he was making all the beats with a Game Boy. Everything was with a Game Boy, and then I just screamed on it. He did all of that.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was dope. And then on stage, we would just plug it into the Game Boy, and then we'd have a synth right there, and he would back up the Game Boy riffs with a synth sound to make it a little more bass heavy. And we did that, and we got some love. That was like what it set me off. And then when me and him said we're gonna stop doing this shit because we're also just so fucked up on drugs, he went and made it once, and I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this punk shit, and I just try to do it on my own. But since I don't know how to do that Game Boy shit. You got to sit there and literally write it in. You're not playing music. You're like writing it with the Game Boy. It's so fucking weird.
Coding it in, huh?
Yeah. I can't do that shit. I got to hear it and play it and feel it. Yeah. But that dude's genius. I mean, even beats and everything. He's fucking badass. But that was my old partner. Yeah.
I've ever seen some like photos like on Instagram that like you make your music in your closet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you recorded in an actual studio before, or like in a studio?
Yeah, I did for some old crime shit, and really and even then it was like my buddy's studio, which was bigger than mine, but it's still, I've never been in he charges people and records, but like a real long full, like the homies Horror going over to Travis Barker's studio and big people's big studios where you get booked in. No, I've never done that. And even everything I think about that, everything I've ever put out that you will ever find has been made in a closet at one of my pads, and then I just send it to someone to master. And I suck at mixing. I barely pan my shit. So I hate it. Like one day I'm like dreaming, okay, I want to see what I would sound like on, recorded in a big studio, but that's yet to happen. Maybe this year.
Hopefully, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be sick, man. Because I'm always like, yo, I could crank out some crazy shit, but until then, it's just strictly bedroom producing.
No, that's cool though. Like that's all that like a lot of people are doing. Like there's a whole genre called bedroom pop. It's because
I think I've heard that. Sick, man. Yeah. I mean, I've heard. Yeah, you're right. And, I mean, dope shit's coming out of there. Like to me. Hey, if it's work and I love it, and I'm never going to book time in a studio. If I ever went to a studio, it's because someone else was booking it. Like, I'll just continue doing this, man. And again, I just wish to get better at mixing. Like, when I did this shit recently with Idris, he was asking me to send him the vocals, but then even he just was like, fuck it, man, this is mixed well enough. Let's put it out. So, I mean, shit, I guess it's working.
Yeah, you mentioned Idris. You've worked with Niles Manson, Tooth Taker, Idris, and Horror. Is there anybody else you've worked with or you want to work with? Like every single thing I've heard, like that I've known about, like that you've collaborated with, is like amazing. Especially the one with Idris. Man. Is there anyone else you want to collaborate with, or you're gonna collaborate with?
No, I mean more Horror. Horror's got a compilation project coming out that we did a bunch of stuff together, and we got a song on the Cyberpunk game. So more with Horror. I'd love to do something with NASCAR. Like, and then shit, man. Producers, I fucking would love to work with Travis Barker, and that's it really. But yeah, just kind of, nothing stands out right now. I'll probably fucking think of something later. I'm high. But, yeah. I mean, just more with the same people I've been rocking with, man.
All right. I got to ask my final questions. So if or when the U.S. crumbles, where would you want to relocate to, or would you stay here
Dude.
and live and fight amongst the rest?
No, I mean, probably stay in the States, but shit, I'll go back to Arizona, man. My people, that's what we used to always say that shit. My people got a bunch of land and mountains, and we got fucking all the guns in the world. But I'm like, yeah, I'll go. I even tell my girl that all the time. I'm like, yo, when it does pop off, if it does, hopefully it's after I at least get to tour. But yeah, I'm like, I'm going back to Arizona.
And like during this time, like a lot of people are having trouble like getting motivation to do shit, to make shit, and you seem to like keep going hard. Like nothing, this hasn't stopped you at all. How do you maintain that? How do you maintain that motivation?
Man, Nar was just even telling me the same thing. I just always have it, man. I'm a dreamer, man. So I just always like. There's always something to write about. I don't even understand. I get it sometimes, writer's block. But when I hear it, it's like I get it for other reasons, but like I fucking did too much cocaine for 3 days or something. But otherwise, I'm like, there's always something to write about, even the smallest little things. And even sometimes songs I write about, if it's heartbreak or relationship, sometimes it's not mine. I'm watching a homie go through it, and then I just kind of, without even telling him, take his whole story and write it from an outsider's perspective of what I see him going through, or a girl. So I'll even use other people's emotions and tragedies or victories. And so to me, it's like you're an observer of this planet. There's nothing that I can't write about. And as far as motivation, like the world being down or something, to me, that's always a reason to write. Whether I'm happy, I'm going to write a song. If I'm feeling sad, I'm going to write a song. If I'm drugged out or what, like to me, any emotion I'm going through, I don't use it as to say I don't feel like doing it today. I say, fuck, I'm feeling this, so I need to do this today. I use it differently maybe, because Nar was like, yo, I'm going through it, I don't really feel like creating right now. When I told him the same thing, like, no, use what you're going through to create. That you got to use it for fuel. Everything's fuel, man.
Yeah, you mentioned like using other people's tragedies, and like I feel like that's very like significant on Kids in Love, and like you just released a music video, and like that one.
Yeah, word. I was super stoked on that. That was like my first real video, anything I've ever done before. I mean, with Crime, we had some real ones, but anything solo of mine has been me and my girl with a phone, and the homie, he shot that on a Super 8. But yeah, those are two stories that, one was a high school couple that I knew, and the dude not broke in, he just climbed into her window, and they had an argument, and he killed her while the parents were in the other room. And then another one was just a neighborhood story of a girl getting jealous of her baby daddy's side piece, so she went over there and kicked in the door to fuck up the side piece, and the side piece shot her, and she ended up getting off because she entered her home and shot her in the face, man. We changed a little bit for the videos, but man, that's exactly what that was. Some stories of some people I knew, and even I've always been a working guy hanging out with criminals. Most all the criminal shit I tell are stories that my buddies have told, and that's why I always keep that message to the kids is like, yo, you don't got to do that shit 100. Like I hung out with some pretty real bad men, and I never participated. I was always a working guy, and it was my music that saved me. I didn't want to go to jail and not be able to make my sense and make my weird shit. Like, nah, I'm going to stay out here and go through this, So, yeah, music's always saved me. But, yeah, that's always what it is. Someone else's tragedy, someone else's victories, and mine too. But I mean, I just see so much of what my people have gone through, and I use it to tell their story with my music.
Great. What are you listening to right now? Is there any, like, particular music, like, that you're liking right now, that you're vibing to?
What's so crazy is right now I'm fucking huge on Dylan. I'm a weird man. I'll go from listening to nothing but New York drill music to Dylan to punk to old, like I just listen to everything. But right now I barely I've always heard about him, and I've dug stuff I've heard of him, but I'm really deep into digging him. Like I spent $40 the other day on like all his albums digitally, but I was just buying all his shit. So that's all I've been bumping at work all day. Is Dylan. But I mean, I listen to everything. When I work out, I'm listening to, fucking AR-AB, or then when I'm walking around, I'm listening to Spitz. I listen to Spitz constantly, the Ramones constantly, Bad Brains constantly, but I'm just listening to everything, man.
What's one of your favorite punk bands besides Suicidal Tendency?
Probably the Spits. I love the Spits. I love the Mob. That's who I've been listening to tons lately is the Mob. But yeah, probably I don't know. Probably the Spits or the Ramones. I love them, man. I like melody and then sometimes it's not bands for me. It's like one band will have some song that I fucking just literally love so much, and then another, you know what I mean? So I'm loving everything from everybody, but a band that stands out that I got a lot of their albums would definitely be the Spits. I fuck with them because they you know, they don't, maybe not called that, but you know, they incorporate synths with, I like synth shit like Screamers. I mean, they're the gods to me. Like, yeah. I mean, I cover like 122 Hours of Fear for like constantly, like every show I do, I cover it. That's like my fucking, like, when we were thinking of doing Crime Kills and doing stuff, we were like, okay, we want to do Screamers aesthetic and vibe in their frequency, but then tell our story. Like, the Screamers are the gods to me. They are the synth punk gods to me. It was just two synths and drums, you know, there was no guitars and that shit.
That's wild. That's why they should bring the Screamers, because not a lot of people bring them up. Well, the only time I heard that bring them up is like Jello Biafra from like the Dead Kennedys.
Oh, word. Okay. Yeah, no, I fucking love them. Like, that's a fucking huge influence to me. Like I said, every show I cover a song of them.
Why haven't you ever released like a cover of one of their songs?
You know what? I'm gonna release. I want to, because I got a bunch of them. You know, I did the Stooges. I Want to Be a Dog, and I done got some covers, but I cover them differently. Sometimes they'll be slow and they won't be fast like the originals. Because I'm always like, okay, if I'm gonna cover something, I got to make it different. I'm not gonna do the same thing and just that's the point. You know, the song's already good that way. So so yeah, I want to release a cover album probably this year. This year I'm gonna release a lot of shit, man. I got an album coming out on Eyeball Records, the cassette and shirt bundle, and that'll be my first drop of 2021. Then right after that, the compilation with Whore, and then I'm working on this project where I was like, yo, before I get too old, I want to scream on fucking these synth beats like these youngsters are doing, like NASCAR and all these guys. I'm like, I want to fucking do that. So right now, that's all I'm doing. This whole week has been recording the tracks like that.
So do you have any message to say out to like people that are trying to start their own shit, do their own shit right now?
Just, I mean, constantly do it, man. That's what my main thing is, constantly create and let nothing stop you. If you don't have the gear, you know, if you only have one little toy or what, I mean, I just bought a guitar the other day. I've only plucked one string on it and I'll turn it into a song. Like, just no, don't blame the tools you have. Just create. If you have no gear, then fucking write lyrics. Like, always create and just do it. Try it. My main thing is you don't need to have a great voice, just have a voice, man. Like, don't let genre shit stop you. Just create and it will fall into place. I mean, I'm finally getting love after all these years and it still blows my mind. And I ain't shit, you know, but I'm just like, oh man, it's so dope that this sound that I would have done regardless forever in my closet with no fan base. Like, I've been doing this and with no fans, and now all of a sudden I'm getting people that are digging it and I'm so grateful. But my point is if you find something you love doing, constantly do it, and then it will all catch up and make sense like later. But right at the beginning, make it just about the music. Fuck aesthetic, fuck dressing up, fuck all that. Just make it about the music and that shit will pop.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, N8NOFACE. I really
Dude, thank you.
Talk to you.